I really wanted to be recording this session, and I was not recording it the whole time. So everyone who just tuned in, they are not actually going to get that whole first part. But everyone can ask you guys about my credentials. I hope that convinces you, though, that this class is worth having, that I'm worth listening to, and hopefully I know what I'm talking about. I do want to share a little bit of information about me that is not so professional. It's just some basic stuff. I am a huge nerd. I spend a lot of time. I play video games. I enjoy video games. I play board games with friends at times. I've played Dungeons and Dragons in the past. I'm real nerdy. I don't use Reddit very much. I don't know if you guys know what Reddit is. I think it's becoming more popular. It's a social media website. You should definitely visit it sometime. It's essentially a social media network where what pops up on the news feed is any article that has received upvotes from the community. So what appears on your news feed depends on whether other people have already seen it and whether they've essentially said, okay, this is worth reading, I really like this, or they've downvoted it. And that's one thing that Facebook and a lot of other places don't let you do, is they let you downvote something. So this is, I find it a very useful news source. I don't Reddit that much. My wife tends to Reddit a ton, and so I get a lot of information from Reddit. It's pretty good stuff too, well curated because of this system. I am from Pennsylvania originally, so that's where I was born. That's where I grew up. I then went to college in Pennsylvania as well, and then I got my master's degree at a place called Bucknell University, which is kind of near the middle of Pennsylvania. I grew up on the eastern side of Pennsylvania. Then I moved to Michigan for about 5 years, and that's where I got my PhD. So I lived in Pontiac, which is near Detroit, in Michigan. And then, let's see, is this going on 2 years ago? Yeah, 2 years ago, just about 2 years ago, I moved down here to South Carolina and started teaching here. And I really like it here. I've kind of enjoyed the change of pace a little bit. South Carolina is it's very hot and it's very humid, and I certainly had a bunch of that. But one thing I do enjoy is that up in Michigan, it's almost just year-round gray skies and raining pretty often and tons of snow. And so I've kind of enjoyed getting away from that a little. I hate dressing up. So I'm kind of fortunate. So, I normally teach this class in person, but it's kind of fortunate now because I'm at my home and I get to kind of dress how I want. This is probably the most you'll ever see me dressed up. From here on out, what you'll probably see is that I'll start wearing just a black t-shirt from time to time. Certainly most of my recorded videos are recorded in a black t-shirt, just the most comfortable. And I will almost always be wearing sweatpants. And I encourage you guys to do the same. As you're attending this class, as you are doing asynchronous stuff, please be as comfortable as you possibly can be. Not so comfortable that you'll fall asleep listening to me, but I think that makes the best environment for learning. And I do not expect you guys to ever turn on your video, so don't worry about that. I actually really enjoy public speaking. I see it as a challenge. It's kind of so my job as a professor is to present information to you in a way that optimally gets from my mouth, my voice into your head, and that is meaningful to you. And I just really love that process. I do get anxious right beforehand. I get worried. I don't want to mess up, but I just really enjoy the process. I think that makes me a little weird. I want to explain what I'm not. So first off, I'm not a clinical psychologist. So anyone who is interested in taking this class, and I'll kind of ask for this information a little bit, anyone who's taking this class to become a counselor, to become a therapist, to become a psychiatrist, which is a medical psychologist who tends to meet with people and help treat them. I do not have much experience with that. I have many colleagues with whom I talk regularly, and so I am very tuned into that world, but I do not practice it myself. The other thing is, so every year I check how many gray hairs I have in my beard. I started getting some last 2 years ago, and now they're starting to spread. I am relatively, So what I do not have is this extensive wisdom that you'll get from people who have been teaching, who've been doing research for decades and decades and decades. However, what I do have is I am relatively close to the stage where you guys could go on and maybe go to graduate school and pursue psychology for yourself or a related field. If any of you are interested in higher education, if any of you are interested in kind of the necessary steps for kind of getting through academia and making it the best experience for yourself, I have some recent experience in that regard. And so I'm happy to be a resource for any of you. So I'm pretty close to that kind of stuff. And any of you who are interested in pursuing, especially a career in research, I've got plenty of advice there. So outside of this class, please do consider me. I'd be happy. I love hearing from you guys. So if you send me emails, even about stuff that is not related to class, please don't hesitate to do that. I really like helping students. Okay, now I want to know a little bit about you. I'm not about to ask you all to start typing feverishly or speaking, but I do want to take the first thing I want to ask, and I'm going to try this polling device here, is I want to see okay, should be popping up right now. Have you guys taken an online class before? Not including this semester. So like before this semester, you have. Okay, for the most part, except for 2 who have walked away because they're so bored with me. No, okay.
I was insane enough to take organic chemistry online, and I did it in summer, so it was in 1 month.
Oh wow, no, that is tough. Yeah, organic chem that's a monster. That's the make or break for a lot of people. Did you do well?
Yeah, I got an A.
Excellent, very good. All right, cool. All right, so I guess I'm one of the responders. Yes, I've taken a class before. Okay, that's cool. All right, so you're familiar with the expectations of what's going to happen in an online class. I'm going to explain in a little bit of detail as we get into the syllabus. I'll stop this right now. As we get into the syllabus, what this class is exactly going to look like. But I do want you to share any concerns you might have. I am not going to make the grandiose claim that this class is perfectly designed for online instruction. So as things go on and you either experience frustrations or you find something that really works that you really like, please do let me know, and I can change things on the fly. So please do give me that feedback if you have it. Okay, first thing I'd like you to do, just so I can get to know you guys a little bit, is I want you to complete something called the student information sheet. This is on Blackboard. We're going to actually go into Blackboard in a minute, and I'll show you where to find this. But this is just some basic info. You'll be asked to list your name, if you have a nickname that you prefer to be called, some of your interests, your current major, why you're taking this class, and then your experience with online teaching as well. If you can complete this ASAP, ideally before the next discussion that we have, but just it won't take long. It would take like 2-3 minutes to complete. So I recommend doing that. How to access that? So let's go to everything that you're going to need for this class is entirely on Blackboard. So let me see if I can navigate over to. All right. All right, y'all see that? This is my.sc.edu. This is your link to everything. You may already be familiar with this. Everything that you would need as students is all here. On the left side here, make sure that you are checking your emails almost honestly daily. This is the main way that I will be communicating with you outside of these sessions. So make sure that you can access your email and that you are getting my emails. And if you click on Blackboard here, you can access it by going to USC Columbia and to your campuses. That's where we're located. And this will take you to the sign-in page. You'll have to log into your USC ID account. You go to courses, and this is what things are going to look like. So we are here, 503. As soon as you enter here, you're going to get the course schedule. I put it front and center because you should be looking at this a lot. This tells you when something is due, what we're going to be doing within a week, what you need to read for that week, and you should be coming to this quite often. Right down here, this is the times that we're meeting, so you don't have to actually go into the syllabus or look it up all the time. So our discussion hours, of course, Thursday at this time, and then support hours, these are my office hours. So as you go back to Blackboard Collaborate, let me just show you here. As you go to Blackboard Collaborate, there is another session here called office hours. During those support hours, I will be here. I'll just be hanging out. So you can pop in whenever you want. There's no expectation, but if you need help, this is where I'll be. Okay, that's the course schedule. So if you go to the left side here and go to syllabus and course documents, right here is the student information sheet. So if you click on that, it'll take you to a survey. You just fill it out, give me the information. You can even do that now if you wish. And we'll get some other stuff here, but I want to go over the syllabus first. Okay, let's see. Here's our syllabus. So going from the very top, you know, I'm Justin Mogilski, course section number, those are our hours. This is my email right here. I would recommend emailing me directly at this address rather than going through Blackboard. Sometimes Blackboard buries messages in this labyrinth, this maze of different things that need to be clicked through for me to find them. So I would recommend you just email me directly if you have questions. That's my email address. Here's a description of the course. You can read through that at your own leisure. This is our textbook. I hope everyone got my email sent over the past week about this textbook. It is online. I provided an Amazon.com link. I would honestly recommend getting it through Amazon. It is available in the bookstore, but in my experience, many bookstore books tend to be marked up in price relative to getting it used. You will not need an access code. You will not need the supplementary online materials, so it doesn't matter if it's used or not, or if you rent it. So realize that that is an option. The book is supplementary help. Largely, this class and its exams and everything that you'll be tested on is going to be based on my lectures. The book is here as a resource for you. All right, so I'm not going to be assigning work from the book. You will not need it for that reason. None of the practice questions at the end, I will not assign them, but it is a good resource and it is relatively inexpensive. I tried to keep it. You can see this was published in 2015. The information for Psych 101 tends not to change too much, so I'm assigning this relatively older one to make it relatively more cost effective for you. Here are the outcomes and objectives. Please do read through this. This is what I want to focus on a little bit. So this is how your grade is going to be determined. You're going to have exams, and those exams are going to be due each week. I used to give very large exams. For an online class, it just doesn't make sense. Each week there is going to be something due, an exam due. Each chapter will conclude with an exam. In total, the exams are going to be worth 50% of your course grade. So you really want to make sure to stay on top of these each week. The exams will be administered online and be due 1 week from when they are available. The exams will be available. So for example, exam 1, which, and I'll show you that later. Exam 1 is going to be available at 2:15 today at the end of our class. So 2:15 onward, you can submit it, and it'll be available until the start of next week's discussion class. That is the time that you have, excuse me, to submit it. If you don't submit it by then, I will not accept late work just because you've had a whole week and there's plenty of time to schedule for that. Outside of some extreme circumstance, I expect those to be turned in on time. They're all multiple choice. The questions are sampled from a database, and so it will not be the same questions for everyone. Everyone will be getting slightly different versions of the exam, and things will be randomized. So you can try to cooperate to do these, but it probably won't be very effective. There will be a comprehensive final exam at the very end worth 20% of the overall grade. This will be a much larger exam, also online, also multiple choice. but the content will cover any chapter from the semester. So that's comprehensive. And it'll be made available 1 week of scheduled final exam testing period. That is also on the schedule, which is at the end of the syllabus, and on Blackboard, it'll be December 10th. I don't have much say in when these final exams are due, so again, that will be a fairly strict deadline. Those are exams. So in total, about 70% of this course is going to be your exam grades. However, we do have these other activities which I think that you're going to find them very useful. I'm not a fan of busy work, and I think that these assignments are designed around building skills that are important for anyone who pursues a career that involves science. So to the degree that you are going to use the scientific method in your work whatsoever, these are excellent skills to develop. We're going to be practicing writing hypotheses, formal hypotheses that you'd see in any research paper, any published peer-reviewed article, and then you will be creating research proposals from these hypotheses. So you'll be taking a hypothesis and then expanding on it. All right. Each of these assignments, the hypotheses, will be a short 1-paragraph description of a research hypothesis that you would like to test. Please see the course schedule for due dates. And then there's also a document on Blackboard with instructions on how these hypotheses will be written. We'll go over that in a second. Then you'll write, so in total we'll have 6 hypotheses this semester. The research proposals, they'll be due 20% of the grade, and you will write 2 of these by the end of the semester. So 6 hypotheses, 2 research proposals, and each will be a concise 2-page double-spaced paper for which you will elaborate one of your hypotheses. So you'll write 3, then you pick one of those, and then you'll write a longer paper expanding on why this hypothesis is a question worth asking, and then how you intend to test it. When we get to chapter 2, we'll go over research methods, over experiments. You will have to design an experiment that can test that hypothesis. And you'll have to do that in 2 pages. See the course schedule, also that document, which we'll go over in a second. There is some extra credit available in this class, and the extra credit is tied to a research participation requirement for this class. You will have to participate in a total of 4 studies. Right now, that is the plan. It'll be 4 studies. If you do more than the minimum required studies, then you will get an extra credit point on your final grade. So if 4 in total are due, they must be done. If you do a 5th one, you will actually get 1 percentage point on your final grade. That's fairly substantial. We'll go over what this looks like in a second, but yeah, you can earn up to 5%. I don't believe at the moment 5% is available, but as the semester progresses, I actually expect to be adding more studies, making more studies available, and so those will be there for you. Okay, my class expectations. First off, any questions about grade determination or any of these items so far? We'll go into detail what the hypotheses and research proposals should look like in a second. Okay. There's this too, to show you how it's calculated. My class expectations. 1, you got to know how to use Blackboard. I've already gone over that. So what's virtual instruction going to look like? This class is going to be a mixture of synchronous discussion, which is what we're doing right now. This will be happening at the same time every week. And asynchronous instruction, recorded virtual lectures. I have recorded lectures for this first week. I believe they are already available on Blackboard. I will expect you to watch those before the next discussion. So our first discussions, first synchronous discussion will occur on the first day of scheduled class. That's right now. We will then meet each week at the same time for the rest of the semester. After each discussion, I will post asynchronous recorded lecture materials and exams to Blackboard. You may access and complete this content at your leisure, but all exams must be completed prior to that week's synchronous discussion. So once a week, we have that synchronous discussion using Blackboard. You already know how to get here. I do ask that you guys arrive on time. You were all very great today. However, please keep consistent in that. This will be a resource to be here. I will be presenting information in these sessions that will not be available elsewhere. I will be recording these sessions, but this is your opportunity to get feedback, for me to understand how you guys are doing, how you're progressing, whether there's anything that I need to clarify. And I'll be covering, primarily in these sessions, I'll be covering things that I want to emphasize, things that I think you should especially pay attention to, and that may require a little more guidance from me beyond a pre-recorded video. Let's see. You should prepare for meetings by completing the reading assignments, virtual lectures, and online exams. So what that means is everything that is due for that week is going to prepare you for the next discussion that we have. All right, so you're doing all of this, and then that will build into the following discussion. These meetings will be an opportunity to ask questions, receive guided review of class content. It's also an opportunity for me to monitor your experience and respond to your needs or anxieties. On occasion, I may call on people to answer questions. If you miss a class, the recording will be uploaded to Blackboard. In this case, half of a recording where you missed the first part. I'll be sure to be a little bit more consistent about that next time. If I need to cancel class, I'll send an email. Another reason to be checking your email consistently. Please be sure to check your email frequently. And if you have a personal email account that you prefer, you can link your USC email to your personal email account, and I highly recommend it. If you don't want to, if you're not in the habit of checking your USC email, you can just get everything forwarded to an email that you do check. And then please speak to me if you expect to be excessively absent or unable to complete assignments by their due dates. I will expect things to be done on time, but if you can ahead of time say, hey, listen, I've got this going on, or you know, I got sick or whatnot, please do contact me. Let me know what's happening, and I'll be able to work with you and help you through. Okay. All right. Research participation. So you'll be required to participate in research as an experimental subject or complete some written exercises about experiments that you read in journal articles. So we cannot coerce you. We cannot force you to participate in any study that you do not want to. There are two professors in the psychology department who do research, myself and Carmela Gottsman. Our research it tends to be non-invasive. We're not asking you to do too much. My research tends to ask a little bit about, you know, your attitudes towards your relationship, and I might ask a little bit about sexual information. That's the touchiest that it gets. But my stuff is all online. Carmela's she has some in-person stuff. Now, you may be uncomfortable with doing some of that in-person stuff. If you are uncomfortable actually going in and participating in an in-person lab, just due to everything that's going on right now, please do let me know, contact me. But as it stands, we'll be expecting you to do 2 online studies, so 2 of my studies, and then 2 of her studies, which are in person. All right. The requirement needs to be completed before the final exam due date. So you have all semester to do these. You can access them now. My studies are already available. Carmela's are, I believe she has sign-up sheets posted in each of the buildings. So in Walterboro, which is, you guys are in Walterboro. I don't think any of you, are any of you in Allendale? Okay. In Walterboro, it's the main building on the 2nd floor, furthest from those the main set of doors. So if you're walking in the front and you go upstairs, it's going to be on the far side of the hallway. On the left side, there's a bulletin board that says something like the psychological, the research participant pool. Her signups will be there. I don't believe she's going to be kicking it off right away, but within a few weeks, those experiments will be available. I'll let you know about them, and you'll have to sign up, and then you'll participate. There'll be a time slot that you sign up for. You'll have to be at a certain place at a certain time. You go in. It takes like, I believe her research takes 5-10 minutes at most. It's really quite quick, so nothing too invasive. All right. So it has to be completed by the final exam. If you do not complete the requirement by this date, your grade will drop a full letter grade. All right. So you need to get these done. You have all semester. You need to get them done. For example, if you have a C in the class and you do not complete the requirement, you'll receive a D, or a D will turn into an F, etc. If you do not wish to participate in these research experiments, there are alternative assignments. So these alternative assignments are, I will give you a research paper, and then you have to read it, and you have to write a 2-page summary of it. If you compare the time it'll take you to write a 2-page paper versus do this research, it is much quicker to do the research, I assure you. There are instructions I'll show you on Blackboard for how to do those alternative assignments, though, if you wish to do them. That is always available to you. Course schedule is on the next page. The exams and assignments are posted for each discussion, each week, and due before discussion. The rest of this is fairly boilerplate. This is information you need to know. Academic conduct in terms of do not plagiarize your work. So as you are writing hypotheses, as you are writing research proposals, we do, as a university, use a system that helps with checking whether work has been plagiarized. We can see what percentage of someone's work is copied from another student's work. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but that is available. That is something that many professors at the university use to check for plagiarism. So please don't try to get away with it. Adding or dropping a class, the information is right here for you. If you have some sort of disability for which you'll need support, there is the DSS, which provides support, but please get in contact with me as well, and I'm happy to make accommodations. And then there's also the USC Salkahachie Pledge, which you've probably been bombarded with at this point. They're really pushing this. This is essentially, we are looking out for each other. We're part of a community, and so we need to behave in a way that ultimately caters to everyone else's well-being. So as you are on campus, please do remember to wear face masks and keep social distancing and do those things, which I'm sure, again, you are well aware of, but be conscientious about it. I think be thinking about that as you're on campus. Okay, so here's the schedule. I want to talk a little bit about how this is set up and how you can use it to navigate this class. So this is the first week. This is what we're doing right now, Introduction to Psychology. After this class, the materials for Introduction to Psychology are going to be posted to Blackboard. So what I will expect you to do before the next class is all going to be there after this lecture. There is going to be one recorded lecture, and then there is going to be an exam for Chapter 1. So this first week is Chapter 1. I'll expect you to read Chapter 1. I will expect you to watch that video, and then I will expect you to complete this exam. So this exam, when it says the due date is the 27th, that is the actual due date. So it must be done by the time that we meet next week, which will be the 27th. Does that make sense? Everything clear? Anything makes sense?
It makes sense. My only problem right now is I have a class that starts their online lecture at 2.
Oh, do you really? Oh, all right. What?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a strange time to start. I understand. Well, ultimately, if I'll upload this recording so you can watch the last bit of it. All right.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. All right. Let's see. So whatever's listed here is going to be actually due on that day. All right. So for next week, you will have to do the exam for Chapter 2 before we meet on September 3rd. And so it's going to go like that. So just realize that this due date actually means this is when this is due, on that date. All right. So we'll get through a number of sections. Some of these chapters we will spend 2 weeks on most chapters, and we'll have Thanksgiving break right down here. That's the one break that we get. Otherwise, we are working on an accelerated schedule. And this will be when the final exam is. Your hypotheses are not going to be due next week, but there will begin having these due the following week. And so next week, I'm going to give you very clear instructions about how to complete these. But for now, let's switch over to some of those instructions just to get that out of the way. But here's your schedule. Be sure to this is your lifeline. Okay. If you go to, where's Blackboard? Here we go. All right. If you go back to Blackboard, all the lecture slides for any lecture I'll post here, right here. For research participation, that is all available right here. So if you go into this folder, it'll give you a handout, which you should read through. It explains the expectations. I gave you the short notes, the cliff notes here. You have to do 4 by the end of the semester, but this really details all of the expectations for you. So please read through that. These are the online study links. So participating in my research, it's all available here. All right. The alternative assignments and the directions for doing those alternative assignments are all available right here as well. All right. So please read through that if you're interested in doing the alternative assignments. Recorded lectures are going to be posted right here. So this one should already be available. So for chapter 1 for the following week, I would expect you to watch this video. This is Black Laborate, you're already familiar with that. All right, the research hypotheses and proposals. As you complete these, this is the link for the submission. So you click on here, you click on one of these, and you can submit that assignment. But let's go through these a little bit. I want to describe what the hypotheses are all about. Okay. So let me just read this introduction to you. I think it does a better job than anything I could just pull out of nowhere. Humans form beliefs about what is true and what is not. We form these beliefs by observing the world, detecting associations, and using this knowledge to make decisions. Brains are well designed to detect and record patterns, but sometimes we detect and record patterns that are not real. We believe things that seem true but are not. To overcome this problem, we have developed the scientific method, a procedure for assessing the veracity of a belief, the truthfulness of a belief, or how close it is to truth. For this class, you will practice using the scientific method to examine several beliefs that you have of the human mind and the behavior it produces. Over the course of the semester, you will write 6 scientific psychological research hypotheses and then 2 research proposals. A research hypothesis is a tentative statement or prediction about the relationship between 2 things, or variables. I'll use that term variables quite a bit. Simply 2 things that can vary, that are on a continuum, that can vary, say, from 0 to n, that can change. For example, you may believe that a person's political beliefs, that is, being Republican, Democrat, or Independent, is somehow related to their willingness to wear a mask during the COVID-19 pandemic. Though the answer to this question may seem obvious to you, you cannot be certain that your belief is true without evidence. Each research proposal will be an opportunity to take one of your hypotheses and design an experiment that tests it, that generates that evidence. Descriptions for each assignment begin on the next page. Please be mindful of the due dates, which appear on the syllabus course schedule, and each assignment should be submitted via Blackboard. These are the formatting guidelines. Please make sure that you conform to this. I'm kind of a stickler for formatting, so if these are not formatted correctly, you will lose points. Okay. Here's what the hypothesis assignment should look like. So to test your belief, you must first formally state that belief. So for each hypothesis assignment, you will generate a research question. You're going to identify 2 variables that you might compare to test that question. You'll predict how those 2 variables are related, and then you'll justify your prediction. Each assignment should be 4 sentences in length. No longer, no shorter. That's it. These are concise assignments. Again, I am not a fan of busy work. I don't want fluff. I simply want you to address each of the points that I have outlined below here. So the following describes how you should write each sentence. In sentence 1, you state your research question. This should be a question that you have about the world around you, and it should be related to psychology and how the mind works. That's very broad. You can really write questions about anything that you want, but it should be related to the mind in some way or behavior. So for example, you might have the question, if someone is in an exclusive romantic relationship, or if someone in an exclusive romantic relationship is constantly trading snaps via Snapchat with someone, are they likely to cheat on their current partner with that person? It's a viable question. If you partner, what's that? Oh, sorry. I think I picked up my own voice there. That's a viable question, right? So, I mean, you can talk about texts. You can talk about messages on Facebook or, I don't know, whatever messaging app you prefer, WhatsApp. If you're messaging someone more, are you romantically interested in that person? And therefore, would you be likely to cheat? Would someone be likely to cheat on a partner if they are talking a lot with someone else on social media? Or if they're going through their account and they're liking a lot of their, especially photographs, right? Okay, that's your research question. In sentence 2, you need to break that question down into 2 variables. And this is probably the toughest part. In chapter 2, we'll learn about independent and dependent variables and how to operationally define each. That is, state how you plan to measure them. In this second sentence, you must identify and operationally define your independent and dependent variables. So in the example research question here, you've got 2 variables. You are comparing, you're interested in how often does someone trade snaps with someone else, right? So you think that is going to then affect how likely is it that a person cheats on their partner. When you identify these variables, you are identifying the one thing that you think is going to affect the other thing. How does trading snaps relate to cheating behavior? Next, we need to operationally define these variables, and this is the hardest part. I'm going to go in much more depth next class as we go into the research methods, but to give you a brief preview of this, operationally defining something means that you define it in a way that can be measured. So there are many ways to do this for any given variable that you want to operationally define. But let's think about this for this example. So what you could do is if you're interested, if you think that if you think that trading snaps with someone is going to relate to cheating behavior, you could measure trading snaps by recording the number of snaps they send to someone within a week. This is something that you can actually measure. You can count up. You can on your hand say, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, they've traded 4 snaps. That's what an operational definition is. You want to define how you're going to measure it. The second variable is tough. How do you measure whether someone's likely to cheat on their partner? Well, one way you could do this is maybe you could record how many romantic or sexually intimate conversations they have with that person, right? For a lot of people, that is cheating, right? If you simply have a romantic or intimate or kind of playfully flirtatious conversation, that would, for a lot of people, count as cheating. Or trade pictures of, if you trade erotic pictures, right? So you take pictures of genitalia, send a dick pic, right? That would be considered probably cheating to a lot of people. So you could count up the number of erotic messages that one person sends to another person as a measure, as an operational definition of cheating. Okay. Is that clear to everyone that we need to be able to measure these variables? It's a very important part of this process. All right, so for example, to test this is how you would actually write it. So each of these examples is literally how I would want you to write this sentence. To test this question, I would measure the number of snaps a person sends someone within a week. That's variable 1. Then variable 2, and the number of romantic or sexually intimate conversations they have with that person. You're defining your variables and you're operationalizing them. Sentence 3, you have to make a tentative statement about the relationship between these 2 variables. Once you've identified them, you need to explicitly say, I think that as you send more snaps, you'll be more likely to have these conversations. So ask yourself, what do I believe is the answer to this question? You might believe that, yes, if you trade more snaps, you'll have more romantic or sexually intimate conversations. State this belief using the operationally defined variables that you just identified. And don't be vague. You have to commit. This is you essentially saying, okay, this is truly what I believe. I'm going out on a limb by saying this, but this is what I believe. This is my prediction. So you must be specific and it must be directional. So look at this. I predict that those who send more snaps, that's the direction. More snaps equals will have more romantic or sexually intimate conversations, more conversations. That's a directional prediction. Then sentence 4, I want you to provide a brief justification for your prediction. Why do you believe that your prediction is true? If possible, use material from class to support this justification. You can justify this in whichever way you want, as long as it makes sense and it's clear. So I believe that people who trade a lot of snaps may be doing so to discreetly flirt with one another and therefore be more likely to have intimate conversations that their partner might consider infidelity, right? If you're trading a lot of messages, you're probably interested in that person. You like their company. You're potentially developing a romantic attraction to them. That's your justification. So just explain it to me. Okay, that's sentence 4. That's it. Don't write anything else. Keep it concise. 4 sentences. All right. Questions about the hypotheses. I know we're starting to get low on time. For the research proposal, you're going to take one of those hypotheses and write a 2-page paper describing why you hold the belief and how you might test it. So you'll do each of these 5 things. In total, this paper should be about 3 paragraphs. It can be as many paragraphs as you want, but it should contain this information. In paragraph 1, you should propose your research question just straight out the gate. Just say, this is what I wonder. This should be one of the research questions for your hypothesis assignments, but it may be something else if you wish. Then give a brief summary of background information that gives the reader context for why you're asking that question. So go into it a little bit. Describe why it's an important question, why anyone should care about that question that you have. The second paragraph should begin with your hypothesis, and this should be one sentence that reads, I predict that, and then justify why you make the prediction. Tell me why you think that, say, as you trade more snaps, your partner's gonna be more likely to cheat. If possible, use lecture content, textbook, etc. The length of this section should be long enough to defend your prediction to the reader. Also, this is the paragraph where you must propose your experiment, which we'll talk about in chapter 2. In paragraph 3, then consider how your hypothesis might be wrong or inaccurate. And this is an important part. A lot of science is you make a guess and you might have been wrong. So you're going to consider how you might be wrong and what alternative possibilities might there be. Maybe someone who trades a lot of snaps or who talks a lot with someone is not more likely to cheat. Why might that be the case? Might there be a better predictor of cheating than how often you talk to someone, right? Okay. Remember, these proposals should be 2 pages and follow the same formatting guidelines. Questions about these? When these are due, you should come back and read this document again. This is your lifeline. Everything is perfectly spelled out for you here, all right? Okay. All right, one last thing before I should let you go at 2:15. Ultimately, we can keep going. I don't mind. But one last thing I want to share with each of you. There's the submission links. The exams are posted right here. So as you're taking an exam, it's not yet available to you because it'll be available. Oh, it is available now because it's 2:15. But this is where you submit that. So you'll click on this link. It'll take you to the exam. It'll give you instructions, and you complete the exam. When you submit it, I'll get the grade, and then I'll post it probably by the following week. Okay? So make sure you complete those. That's it. So that's Blackboard. All right? I want to let you guys go. It is 2:15. So any last minute questions? Concerns? All right. Well, thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. I'll see you next week. And if you have any problems accessing any of the content, please let me know, okay? I hope everyone's professors show up. All right. Take care, guys. See you next week. To be fair, I'll actually be hanging out here for a little bit. So if anyone has questions or you want to, I'll be here until like 2:30. So just let me know.